welcome to Confessions of a PT. This week we had a request. A gentleman wrote in, Tim from Ruislip, saying, what are our main fitness frustrations at the moment? So we're going to do 3 each. So I will throw it over first to Mr. James McCallion. What is something that is frustrating you, putting you on the spot, because I know we haven't prepped this?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Cheers, Tim from Ruislip. I'm going to go for top 3 frustrations in there.
Yeah, we'll do one each and then...
I would say number 1 has to be the social media algorithms. I feel like it's designed to make you see what they want to see. Fitness Trends is Men's Health magazine. It's the be-all and end-all of like epitomal fitness being shredded as fuck. And people just have this perception that that is the ultimate health and fitness. And I feel like when you're scrolling through Instagram, you're constantly being reminded of that. It's more damaging than good for most people, because I know we touched on this before in different episodes. When you see something that's so far out of your reach, it's almost taking you the other way. Are social medias to blame for that, or is that just because that sort of sells on Instagram? Do you know what I mean? So I would say that would be my number 1. I feel like the corporations are just all involved around profit, not around people's mental health, physical health. It's just all, how can we make as much money? That in turn, for then the influencers are selling all the dud supplements, because they're like, do my meal plan, you'll look like this, when me and you both know that you need to be on our online coaching platform. Get it in there. Call to action. JM Transformations. Over to you then, mate. What would be your first one?
My first one, I think, would be the woke cancel culture creeping into the world of fitness.
Okay.
With the body positivity normalising being overweight and being obese. Just because it feels like that's something that needs to be addressed. We spoke before about the stats of how it is such a problem, and there has got to be a capacity for NHS professionals, doctors, people to say to people, you know, you need to lose weight, or you need to do this, or you need to change your lifestyle, and give a direct message without fear of repercussions, skirting around the edges, people taking personal offence to that and complaining, or, you know, I think we've just gone a bit soft in that regard. And so I think it is... in the same way some comedians have come under fire for saying various different things, it feels like we've moved the needle a bit more into just being a bit too scared to what we really want to say. And when it comes to a tough love message, that's very important that hits home and that lands, and that needs to be, because otherwise it's just like white coat conversations for people when things have really gone bad. Mm-hmm. And I think often people would appreciate in hindsight if someone was more direct with them when they needed to, but at the time when that message is trying to be delivered, it can easily come across as shaming, very personal. Yeah, so that would be my first one.
Yeah, I've
controversial.
I've heard a crazy stat actually last week on that mental health or sickness, like people taking time off work for mental health, is costing the country £3 billion a year now. £3 billion. But like you said, how do you, and this is not me saying mental health isn't real, but I feel like you've touched on the woke community, you can get offended with anything in this day. And like, where is that line's only going to get pushed further and further. Like, everyone's not going to have to work, because you get people that are grafting day in, day out. And in this country especially, it pays not to work, because you can get multiple benefits, people popping out kids left, right and centre. And it's just, that line for me is an avalanche at the moment. And do you see it stopping?
The thing is, I don't see it stopping, and that's what's worrying. And the thing is, when you get someone who has lost 15, 20 kilos, even if their best mates shamed them to within an inch of their life, when they've lost the weight, they're not mad about it. They're grateful.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I was like lazy back then. I was doing, you know, you never get someone that has done a transformation offended.
Yeah.
It's only that offence up front that leads to procrastination and inertia and inaction. So do you know what I mean?
Do you think it's them getting comfortable with their environment as well? If they're getting worse and worse, like say body dysmorphia, it's like where you see yourself every day, you don't necessarily notice the changes. Like, and then before you know it, 3 months later, you're 2 stone heavier, but you haven't seen like the damage or how fast that's happened.
Yeah.
And I suppose it is, if you're not made aware of it, because you're just, again, if you're not tracking regularly, not like with food and stuff, but just the way you look, and then you step on the scales in 3 months, you're like, fuck me, I put on 2 stone. But do you know what I mean?
It's the frog in boiling water.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one though, isn't it, with family and friends, like how to have the conversation. I think the language that people use, whether you address it in a nice way, but again, it depends on the individual how you respond, isn't it? Is it tough love? But I have had it before where people genuinely have been called out and they've said it's been the best thing ever. But then on the flip side, they've been called out and they go into a spiral and then go 10,000 foot the other way. So
yeah, I think there's a real fine line with like bullying and shaming, but I think it's about the place that it comes from. It's like Ricky Gervais says, you can joke about anything, but you see where it comes from. If it comes from that intent of, I want to help you, I mean well, you could say anything and it'd be fine. You see what I mean? So and I know that, you know, it sounds, there's some things you probably shouldn't joke about, but do you see what I mean? If it's you want to help someone and you feel that they're going to respond to you pushing their buttons, calling them names, being on at them, you know, because you want the best for them, I think that's very different to bullying someone in the workplace, for example, who's a bit different or different background, you know.
He's so funny. It's just reminded me of a clip. Is it Afterlife he's in, where he speaks to that ginger kid in the playground and music? He's like pedo, isn't he, or something? He's like, come here, you little ginger twat. So funny.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, I love that show.
Mate,
so that would be my first one. So let's do 3 each. So back over to your good self. What would be another fitness industry frustration?
So I've done this before, but extreme fat loss diets, number one that comes from, it's not really an extreme one, but Slimming World, can't stand it. Probably because I've had so many clients that have had issues with it. Again, my views over calorie tracking over the past probably 6 months have changed, but I feel like the education around Slimming World with free food and not educating it, like people, and the judgment just around solely weight, I feel like for anyone listening, if you just go on the number on the scales, you are going to set you up for like a bad time. And I feel like apparently this is what I've heard, I've never actually been one, but they sit in a circle and if you haven't lost anything, they stand you up and like almost shame you, like what's gone wrong. And I'm like, and it's like, that is so traumatizing for people, but they could still be losing fat because they just live, I'm going to say it again, live in a world where the scales is everything. So I think education with Slimming World, Weight Watchers, like I love the idea of what they're doing, but for me, they could handle the way in which they deliver the education. And again, it relates me back onto my one about the social media algorithm. Like they're a business, they're all about profit. Like I feel like with my business is to get to a client to a place where they don't need me. I give them all the tools and education and stuff to give them autonomy. Whereas most people that leave Slimming World won't have any education on how to carry on because that's the only thing they know. And for me, that's frustrating because the world would be a better place if I personally think things like Slimming World didn't exist. I feel like, yes, people have lost loads of weight and oh my God, the hate you get when you attack Slimming World. I mean, I had like 1.5 million views on TikTok for the thing of Slimming World. Oh my God, you get Karens left, right and centre just at your neck. Like they love it. But again, it's that cult, divide. They're massive cult.
You really like it. Like,
yeah. So I think the extreme fat loss diets, like everyone preaches on how quickly you can get the result. Everyone's looking for that quick fix. And we spoke about it. There's no magic pill and you can't beat hard work and consistency. But if you're not seeing what you're doing now, and I preach this to my clients all the time, in 3, 4, 5 months time, why are you doing it? Like it can't just be for Christmas or for a summer body because you'll yo-yo and then you're going to end up in a place mentally where it's worse and physically than when you started. And that's where the negativity comes in and the resentment and so on and so forth. So yeah, number 2 for me, Slimming World. For anyone that's listening, please don't ever do it. I'll fight you all the way. And the extreme fat loss diets. Okay. Number 2 for you?
My number 2 would be the way in which leading a healthy lifestyle is so far down the ladder of something that ever gets addressed. Let me explain what I mean. So everything from the way it's taught in schools to, I know it's not sexy and it doesn't sell like leading a good lifestyle, but when you look at COVID, for example,
Well, be careful.
and there's a new variant, there's this, there's that. When was it ever said you could do this, you can lose weight and lose fat by controlling your nutrition, being a bit more active, getting out in nature? I don't know whether it almost feels like there's an assumption that everyone already knows this because their parents told them it like when they were 5. But do you know what I mean? It never gets spoken about as a remedy for anything. If they're, like I say, with viruses and things, you won't talk about the fact that if you're a healthy body weight, healthy practices, you are much less risk of this, that, and the other. It's do a vaccine, do this, go into lockdown, restrict access to this, do this. And I just feel like that is such a key thing for the modern world that we live in, that it just doesn't seem that it ever really gets, I don't know, maybe it's just skewed because of the industry we're in, that I feel like that message isn't mainstream, or maybe it is, but it's just because the mainstream want to understand it as like a nugget of a magic pill like move. Am I making sense?
Sort of, yeah. Are you on about like people know what to do but they don't do it sort of thing? Like, or has it been frowned upon when people do try and exercise?
I think it's just the idea that it's almost like you're at the effect of your life, not the cause. Mm-hmm. So again, with like COVID, it's like this virus might come down and latch onto you. And it's like, no, there's loads of things that you can do if you maintain a healthy weight, eat good nutrition, get cold exposure, do saunas. But do you know what I mean? You can bulletproof yourself through doing these kind of things. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're just poor old you, the virus come to get you, which is, it almost makes you believe that you are at risk of things and that you are at the effect, not the cause of your life. And it's like, well, no, actually, you can be proactively boost your immune system by eating well, by doing various different things. And I don't feel that we speak about that enough. We feel that like there's fear mongering through certain things that could happen, and we should flip it and be like, let's go on the offense and do this. And then, oh my God, how would you feel then?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel people that just train, it's all for physical benefits and like aesthetics, the way they look. I think it's very overlooked. I mean, you're not pushing on 30 now? Not with that face. But like, people don't like take their health for granted. And that's like longevity in life, being around. Well, I want to live for as long as I can. I'm not sure about other people, but it's just all, I want to look as good as I can rather than about feeling good. Like, I mean, diabetes all-time high, obesity all-time high, like health diseases and risk all-time high. Like, people overlook this. And I say this to clients over and over, like, you're in a place now where you're in control. Yeah, you have a choice. And if you don't, but I do agree with what you're saying, and it's that scaremongering, isn't it, by the media? And it touches on what I said about the social media. Like, the news will make you see what they want to see. Like, it could be so much more beneficial to just go through and just constantly knock on that door, because people see it once, it won't even register. But I think is it up to 9 times you have to see something, even it's like subconsciously.
You need the message to kind of, for it to resonate, you need it often in different forms, multiple times. But
I feel like on that point, I mean, I don't know if it's just a British culture, but as soon as someone in your circle, like if you had like a group of 6 friends that weren't active and then one of you tries to be active, you just get ripped apart, slated.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I tried to like grow my business with social media, like I started speaking on camera, like the boys were just on me, like, you're a fucking idiot, like, why are you doing this, blah blah blah. Because, and then it makes you feel isolated then, because you're like you're not like a sheep, you're not following the norm. But people just put their own boundaries on you, and I feel like it's very overwhelming to go away from the crowd. Like, you want to try and better yourself. So yeah, I completely agree with that. It's definitely something that they could be better.
If someone dies in their 60s, for example, it's almost, and this is a massive generalization of a statement, but it's often like every death is a tragedy, of course, and it's almost like that is a real shame, but you never look back and think, well, okay, well, as to maybe why did that person live a lifestyle that wasn't particularly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you say, you're in control largely these days of your longevity. You really are. But it would make you seem like, oh, a celebrity died at 63. Oh my God, this bad thing. And I know that obviously genetic things can come and you just play the hand that you're dealt. But there isn't enough talk about how you can proactively, you know, live longer, be more youthful, be more energetic, be more resilient to
you see
disease.
that stat again. I've not got the signed proof for it, but the doctor was saying about how powerful exercise is, and he done like a sample of people that smoked and exercised.
That was it.
Did
yeah,
you see it? Yeah, and it was
yeah.
crazy. Like everyone that exercised, even if they smoked, drunk, all lived longer.
Yeah.
From a pool, and it just shows the power of it. But so many people don't do it, which is why we're in the industry we're in. Come on the team.
So that's 2 each then. So over to you for the third.
So
final fitness frustration.
My last one has to be the buzzword motivation. I'm going to go off on one here because it actually infuriates me. Like if you solely rely on motivation, you're just absolutely setting yourself up for the biggest failure. Like motivation comes and goes. We're probably the most dedicated people that we know, like personal trainers. Yeah, we love what we're doing. We're not motivated all the time. No. But you spoke about it before, which I absolutely love. I use it actually quite a lot now with leverage, like financial leverage. There's all these different things with like mindset stuff, but it's discipline. And again, humans, we rationalize so easy, always want the easy route. Like it's not easy. Like it's hard all the time and showing up consistently. And when people, I'm quite triggered with like parents that just bin it off after like a month or 2 months because it's hard work, because they're setting an example for their kids that it's okay to like give up and shy away from it, and as soon as the time gets up, I'm not motivated. Like you have a role to your kids to be an inspiration, like a father figure leading from example, and they will pick up on stuff like that. The other one is around, I've lost my train of thought here. I've been trialing it out. Like I've never been big on supplementation apart from like protein shakes and creatine, but that leverage for me, I mean, I'm on an intense cut the last 2 weeks, but me just I've started taking EAAs, and I got from Time 4 Nutrition these the fat metabolizers. Since I've started taking them, for some reason, whether or not it's all legal, I've got a disclaimer, I promise.
Can't claim that.
But it's just, I feel like I've been taking superpowers, and do you know what I mean? Just I know you touched on it, you know, when you said in the outtakes about the expensive piss. Yeah, but honestly, mate, it's made me one drink more water, and I'm taking it, and I'm just thinking, oh, I feel good, whether or not it's placebo. But there's all these little things, so I feel like motivation is just a get out clause, and I think when you open the door to let yourself out or something like that, you're never going to come back, and it's just like, just ride it out. Times are tough, but you got to show up consistently, and your future self will love you for it. And there was a great reel I listened to about the biggest form of self-love that you can do is stuff that your future self will thank you for.
Yeah, I love
and it's
that.
Fucking exercise and health. But so many people don't do it, and it's so lazy, and I got really irritated with it. And it's just doing the basics. Like, you don't always have to train more. Can you plan your meals? Can you actually go for a walk? Like, people think, oh, I haven't got time to train. There's time to do something, whether or not you, like you said, plan your meals or go out for a walk with your family. It doesn't always have to be, I can't get to the gym. Like, you've always got to have, and I call it like the parental pivot, a plan A, B, and C. Like, life doesn't go to fucking plan. Sorry, I'm getting really irritated here. And you've got to plan around the worst. Like, don't give yourself an excuse, and always have a fail-safe. Sorry, that was my
no,
I
agree
with
you. I think
let's have it, team.
You're never going to be motivated all the time.
Yeah.
And it's you got to cultivate the discipline where you do it.
It's willpower and discipline, and I know it's hard sometimes, but like I feel people just I'm gonna stop there. Over to you, Mr. Cal. I could go on all day about it there.
I suppose my last one would be probably calories. I understand the importance of...
I'll get my popcorn once.
Considering I think it's more the idea of just how we're always playing catch up to... The mainstream are always playing catch up to what is the right, most potent information. Mm-hmm. You know, we were scared of fat, so it became low-fat foods that were pummeled with sugars. We got scared of sugar, so it was low-sugar foods. pummeled with artificial sweeteners. And it's kind of, it's that idea that perpetuates of everyone just needs to lose a bit of weight to be happy. And no one ever really talks about thriving with their health and what that looks like, and what that looks like from a nutritional standpoint of eating unprocessed, unrefined, single ingredient foods, and not necessarily just the journey being to drop a dress size, lose that little bit of weight where all my happiness is just around the corner.
Yeah.
It's more so actually just thinking more holistically about, I am my best self when I nourish the body and I eat well, and that includes doing certain things, not doing other things. And just, I feel like the whole if it fits your macros kind of thing has really had its time now, where we know what we know about not all calories are equal. Different foods promote different responses in the body physically, different responses in the brain mentally, and we are human beings, so it's a nice idea to let's just eat 2,500 calories and 30% of it's Ben and Jerry's and it's okay because I'm under the number. No,
Billy Bear ham.
that doesn't work in terms of how I work, where what that's going to do to me cravings wise, going to do to my mood, going to do to my tomorrow, going to do to my sleep, etc. So I feel like it's very much an aesthetic based industry. We're always going to want to lose fat and tone up and have that that I would say, and everyone just wants to look good naked. I get that, but I feel like, and I said this in another podcast, I feel at some point there will be 0 calorie foods soon because the metrics will shift.
Have you seen the 0 calorie syrups now?
Doesn't surprise me. I've seen 0 calorie noodles before, and you can just see it starting to be born out of the idea of people want to eat low calorie, so who cares what's in it? Here's a product that does that, which satisfies you in your calorie deficit paradigm, so go and buy that. And then in the same way, things that don't have sugar in them but have all the artificial sweeteners with syllables that you can't even pronounce, and people are like, oh, it's not sugar, I'm cutting my sugars down. It's like, no, you're behind, you're decades behind again.
I feel like I'm going to put myself in quite a vulnerable position here now. We had very contrasting views of this, so
I've won you over, taught you everything.
A little bit, but when I first onboard a client, it would always be like an initial priming / audit, and I was always, I don't give a fuck what you eat as long as your calories, like if I can get as much fat off you. My views have changed on that. I feel like now I pay massive attention, and people don't understand the importance of fiber. And it is astonishing when I see their fiber intake at like 4 grams a day. So the recommended is between 20 and 30. And I'm like, and it is because even though they're hitting their calories and their macros, the fiber is actually a micronutrient. To me, it should be. But the importance of it with digestion, bloating, actually general gut health. And that was the thing that was missing for me, because I'd have like amazing transformations. But again, like you said, the quality of food in regards to their gut health and not actually eating proper food. And for me, it was always a battle if they were having like simple carbs, because they was always hungry. And when you start introducing like good quality nutritious protein, fiber go hand in hand to keep them satiated. For me now, I will a lot harder hat in regards to you're eating like a child. Again, we've spoken about on previous podcasts about Kellogg's with the for breakfast and stuff. But I remember that one of my clients has like huge bowl of I'm sure it was like crunchy nut or something, full fat milk. The trans fats and saturated fats in it was like double his allowance just in that cereal bowl alone. And I said about, obviously, then he was like, I'm hungry within an hour after. But he was on a bulking plan. So for me, I was like, get all the food into you. And then now, not that I didn't understand it before, but like from a general health point of view, and this is what I've been paying attention to more, I was just obsessed with making people look amazing. But on the flip side, they didn't feel amazing. And now the correlation for me makes sense, so that it should be equal. Because I can make you look amazing, but you'll feel like a bag of shit. And that's not general health. And that's what I touched on with the social media algorithm, because you get these people that have like 12 packs, veins on veins, like The Rock, by the way, if anyone wants to know about it. But that's not health.
No.
So,
and you can kind of my protein chocolate spread your way to fit your macros.
I even like the Aldi stuff. And I've got, one of my clients said to me the other day about you don't, I like want them to get rid, like go Greek yogurt now, because I was obsessed with going to Lidl, because from a price point of view, it's better. But again, it's I know you love Eddie of You. Eddie of You, is it?
Eddie of You, yeah, love it.
Wake the fuck up. Okay, right. My confession this week. This is actually really unprofessional, and I apologise. So, I think I was in my second year as a PT, and it was actually my manager at the time. So I'm going to say I got like pressured into it. But you know, you get like the typical gym goer that is like obsessed with everything, wants the best program. It's like this guy was like a lot, and as a fitness instructor, we got paid an hourly rate, and he would just ask us questions on questions, and he wanted a new program like every 2 weeks. And I'm like, you've got to be doing it for at least a month. Anyway, long story short, so you know, you get like different exercises like Bulgarian split squats, Russian kettlebell swings. I designed this whole program and just changed the name to like Zimbabwe squats, Jamaican deadlifts. And honestly, I remember like getting him to go up to like other PTs, asking him, and the facial expressions are really unprofessional. But his whole program was designed about that. So yeah, really unprofessional when I first started. Promise I don't do that now. But yeah, that is my confession for this week. But it was the Zimbabwe squats on his YouTube in it. Oh no, it was so funny. But yeah, that's bad. Sorry.
So we'll leave it there for today. That's 3 each.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.